What's up, guys? Welcome back for another Twisted Tea video. So I really wanted to do a Halloween series on my channel because this is my absolute favorite time of year, but I didn't think that I could adequately get it started in time, seeing as we're already halfway through October. But I do have a bunch of brewing ideas for next year, so we all have that to look forward to. Even though I didn't have time to do a full series, I was definitely going to do something in observance of Halloween, so I came up with a couple of different video ideas instead. As we're approaching 2 weeks until that fateful day, I was hoping that this video could heed as a warning that there are still just as many tricks as treats on Halloween. People see this as the perfect day to commit the perfect murder. Today I'm going to go over 5 different horrific homicides that actually happened on Halloween, so pause the video and grab your popcorn because this one is action-packed. All Hallows Eve is the first day of a 3-day celebration dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all of the faithful departed. It's observed in a huge number of countries and is one of the only holidays that is celebrated evenly across the globe. There are so many fun traditions that people look forward to partaking in every year, and it's especially fun for kids in our country. But Halloween has kind of become a mockery of itself. It just isn't as scary as it used to be. Texas nun slain on Halloween. On October 31st, 1981, 76-year-old nun, Sister Tadia Benz, was found slain in her bedroom on the second floor at the St. Francis Convent in Amarillo, Texas. When she failed to show up for the 6:30 a.m. Mass, another sister at the convent decided to go check on her. She found the naked body of the nun laying face down on her bed. Although there was blood on Sister Benz's face, her body was transported to a funeral home because foul play wasn't suspected. Initially, it was thought to be natural causes until a couple hours later, when the other sisters of the convent found a broken window with a missing screen in the community room of the first floor of the convent and called Amarillo police. Police returned to secure the crime scene. They took bedclothes, the victim's night clothes, and a kitchen knife that they had found under her bed. Fingerprints and palm prints were lifted from the knife and from the headboard. The missing window screen and a second knife were found on the sidewalk outside of the convent. Police notified the funeral home, but by the time her body was recovered from the funeral home, it had already been cleansed and embalmed. The autopsy revealed contusions to the head, stab wounds to the chest, and injuries to the front and back of her neck. The pathologist determined that the cause of death was manual strangulation. The autopsy also revealed evidence of forcible rape. 17-year-old Johnny Frank Garrett was seen running from the direction of the convent on the night of the murder. The fingerprints and the paw prints all proved to match Garrett's. Pubic hairs recovered from the scene were also thought to belong to Garrett. The knife that was found on the sidewalk outside of the convent also matched the knives in Garrett's kitchen, and there was one missing. Johnny Frank Garrett was convicted of the crime and sentenced to lethal injection. He was executed on February 11, 1992. He chose ice cream as his last meal, and his last words were, quote, "I want to thank my family for loving me and taking care of me. The rest of the world can kiss my ass." The man who killed Halloween. We've all heard about those crazy overprotective parents that check every piece of their kids' Halloween candy before they're allowed to indulge. But somebody actually poisoning or putting something harmful into a kid's Halloween candy is just an old wives' tale, right? Wrong. On October 31st, 1974, a Texas resident laced 5 pixie sticks with potassium cyanide and passed them out to trick-or-treaters. He planned on killing 4 random local kids plus his own son in an effort to frame his neighbor and cash in on his young son's life insurance policy. While O'Brien was out trick-or-treating with 5 kids that night, they stopped at an abandoned house. They knocked and knocked and knocked, but nobody answered. O'Brien stayed behind while the others moved on. He then caught up to them a few minutes later and had 5 pixie sticks in his hand and passed them out to each of the kids, among them his own son. 11-year-old Timothy O'Brien had eaten a pixie stick for his one treat of the night after his dad had opened it for him. When the boy tasted the candy that's supposed to be sweet and sour, he immediately complained of a bitter taste and said that it tasted funny. His dad gave him Kool-Aid to wash it down and then sent him to bed. He woke up a little while later complaining of excruciating stomach pain. Within an hour, he was hospitalized and declared dead. Local detectives figured out what had happened because of the smell on young Timothy's breath. Luckily, they were able to confiscate the other 4 pixie sticks before the others had a chance to open them. On March 31st, 1984, Ronald Clark O'Brien, who was dubbed the man who killed Halloween, was put to death by lethal injection. During the execution, anti-death penalty protesters stood outside the prison with their signs, while an angry mob threw candy at them and yelled "trick or treat." The eccentric early death of Carl Jackson. For centuries, adults have been giving treats to kids who dress up on Halloween, and, in return, the kids prank them. The most commonly thought of tricks are probably TPing houses, squirting shaving cream on windshields, and egging cars. These tricks that kids play on adults on Halloween are thought to be harmless, but that unfortunately was not the case on October 31st, 1998. A group of teenagers was throwing eggs at passing cars in the Bronx, New York, when 21-year-old Carl Jackson's car was targeted. Around 11:30 p.m., Mr. Jackson pulled his car over and approached the teenagers about vandalizing his car. After he got back into the car, one of the boys, 17-year-old Curtis Sterling, pulled out a gun and fired a single shot into the car and directly through Carl Jackson's temple. Sterling was convicted and got 20 years for the homicide. He received a card from Carl Jackson's mother every year on Halloween saying, "I'm glad you're still there," until his release from prison in December of 2015 when he was 38. According to the New York Times, Halloween eggings have left a violent legacy on New York City. Since 1984, at least 24 people have been seriously wounded or even killed due to violent stabbings, shootings, or beatings sparked by egg-throwing confrontations around Halloween. The Halloween Massacre predicted by Son of Sam. David Berkowitz, or the Son of Sam as he's most commonly referred to, wreaked havoc on the streets of New York in the summer of 1977. The reign of terror is known as the Summer of Sam. On October 31st, 1981, Ronald Sisman, who was a photographer, invited his girlfriend Elizabeth Platzman over for a photo shoot. A group of masked individuals showed up at his front door, violently banging on it. The bodies of 19-year-old Elizabeth and 39-year-old Ronald were found severely beaten and then shot execution style in Sisman's duplex in Manhattan near the Greenwich Village. The place had been completely ransacked. Both victims' faces and bodies were covered in bruises, and it seemed to have been a very long and brutal beating. Among other missing items from the scene, a .25 caliber pistol that was registered to Sisman, as well as the victims' driver's licenses. Berkowitz was already in prison for the killing of 6 people and for shooting and injuring 7 others when the police received a tip from a confidential informant. He said that someone had predicted the murders to him weeks before they occurred. When Berkowitz was arrested, it was speculated that he hadn't acted alone and that he was actually part of a large satanic cult. Berkowitz had told the informant that this cult was going to torture and perform a ritual killing on Halloween. He said that it would be a photographer's residence near Greenwich Village. He went on to say that they would kill the occupants and clean the residence of any incriminating evidence against the cult. Berkowitz elaborated that Sisman had been hired by the cult to record a video, but they hadn't told him what the film was about. Berkowitz said that the cult had heard rumors about Sisman being in trouble for dealing drugs, and that he was going to use the video as a way to get a lesser sentence. When the authorities went to see the Son of Sam, he was also able to give very accurate and very detailed descriptions of the residence. Those closest to Sisman denied that he had ever met Berkowitz and wasn't involved with any satanic cult or drugs. Another fact that supported Berkowitz's claim that this was in fact the act of a satanic cult was that the driver's licenses have been stolen. This has happened in other cult killings. The killer will take IDs to prove that they had gotten the right person. To this day, no one has been arrested for those murders. All tricks and no treats. On October 31st, 2004, 3 friends and roommates, Adrian Insogna, Leslie Mazzara, and Lauren Mianza, sat on their porch handing out candy to trick-or-treaters at their home in Napa, California until around 11 p.m. when they all went to bed. Mianza awoke to a gut-wrenching scream. She was fortunately able to get out of the house and escape, leaving her 2 friends inside. Both had been savagely stabbed to death. After an 11-month-long investigation, detectives turned their focus to cigarette butts outside of the home that the 3 women shared. It was discovered Eric Matthew Koppel was the culprit. Koppel was previously engaged to a friend of the 3 girls, and the couple was set to be married in Hawaii when Lily called off the wedding. She reportedly began to plan a trip to Australia with her 3 friends instead. Lily and Koppel had both found themselves at the same Halloween party that night, and they ended up getting into an argument about her calling off the wedding. Koppel submitted to a fit of rage and went on a rampage trying to destroy the friendship between Lily and her friends, but destroyed everyone's lives involved instead. He turned himself in and got life without parole. I was actually astonished to see how many murders really do happen on Halloween. It's a day we're supposed to honor the dead. I hope you all stay safe and stay aware this Halloween, and don't forget to check the kids' candies. See you soon. Peace and love.